Why am I not funny in another language? This is a sentiment a lot of people, including myself, share. If only you knew how smart and funny I was, without this Tower of Babel bullshit. And it's not just to do with fluency. Of course, fluency will give you the foundations like the vocab, the puns, and the sayings, the stuff that direct translations don't give you. Take the phrase, when pigs fly. The Mandarin equivalent is 太阳打西边出来, which means the sun rising from the west. Same usage, but if someone said that to me in English, I would need a second. And similarly, if I said when pigs fly to someone in Mandarin, they would be like, pigs flying where? Basically, communication needs a shared frame, which goes way past just idioms. In the UK, we have a bakery called Greggs, and we also have this gem of a subreddit called Greggs Appreciation. Now, these posts won't be funny to anyone who hasn't had a sausage roll from there. Or the subreddit Bon Appetit, which is full of chaotic mispronunciations, but they won't make sense unless you know the original phrase. And you might be wondering, sure, there are all these cultural elements, but surely there is some universality to humor. And you could be right. This theory states that humor occurs when norms and expectations are violated, in a safe way. Like your friend calling you an idiot is banter, because yes, they're insulting you, but it's done in a humorous and harmless way. So, can we just use this universal law of comedy to be funny? Well, not quite, because this theory implies that there's something to violate against, and that baseline is exactly the cultural frame. Miss it in either direction and the joke dies. Not enough of a violation? Well, it's not that funny. And if it's too much, then, well, the violation is no longer benign. The baseline will depend on who you are and who you're talking to. Your mama jokes will not fly in Mandarin because most people will just find it straight up disrespectful. On a more individual level, there are studies that suggest a new identity is formed when you learn a new language. Linguists call it your language ego. This study talks about how one can either embrace this new personality or reject it, which could explain why some people feel more confident in their other language, while others feel more anxious and shy. So, just like your actual personality, think about where your linguistic ego was cultivated. Was it in a classroom? Then that version of you is formal and polite and careful. So unless outside of class you're experimenting with creative phrasing and timing and delivery, your ego in this language isn't going to have the arsenal to be funny. Also, the second self is there in theory, but whether you let it develop is another question, which is down to ego permeability. That is, how rigid your existing sense of self is when you start learning. The older you are, the more set it is, and the harder it becomes for a new self to take shape. A kid tries a joke, it dies, they move on. A teenager is old enough to get sensitive and be embarrassed by the miss. And later, well, you can't exactly riff on your manager at work, so you play it safe. But here's the thing about permeability. It's a setting, and settings can be changed. And your linguistic ego was something that was built, so you can change it. You can build it somewhere else. The funny and witty and sharp and intelligent person that you are in your first language wasn't a gift either. You just don't remember ever building her up because you were young. And you get to do it on purpose this time.